As the investigation into the abduction of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie enters its most grueling phase, the silence of the Catalina Foothills has been replaced by the rhythmic, cold data of a medical miracle. Investigators have discovered that the key to Nancy's final moments in her home may not be found in a witness statement or a grainy camera feed, but in the electronic pulses of her own heart. For more true crime stories like this, hit the subscribe button. In a startling forensic breakthrough reported by Fox News and corroborated by investigative leads, it has been revealed that Nancy Guthrie wears a pacemaker, a device designed to regulate her heartbeat, but one that also acts as a silent, internal black box. Forensic technicians have discovered that this device last synced with her Apple ecosystem at approximately 2 a.m. on Sunday, February 1st. This timestamp is the most precise piece of evidence recovered to date. It narrows the window of the abduction from a sprawling 14-hour gap down to a specific, terrifying moment in the dead of night. If the pacemaker synced at 2 a.m., it suggests that Nancy was still within range of her home's technological net at that time, but it also raises the question of whether a physical struggle triggered a physiological spike that the device recorded. This digital trail stands in stark contrast to the physical evidence left behind. Inside the home near East Skyline Drive, authorities found Nancy's Apple Watch still resting on its charger and her cell phone unmoved. For a woman who was sharp as a tack and meticulously prepared for her daily routines, leaving behind these lifelines is the ultimate proof of a forced departure. Sheriff Chris Nanos has now transitioned his language from concerning evidence to a definitive stance. Nancy was taken against her will. He has publicly stated, she didn't go willingly, a conclusion drawn from the state of the residence and the presence of what anonymous sources describe as a trail of blood. The report of blood inside the home has sent shockwaves through the Tucson community. While the Pima County Sheriff's Department has been cautious, the LA Times and other outlets have cited sources claiming that a light trail of blood, or a drip, was found leading away from the house. Sheriff Nanos has confirmed that DNA was successfully recovered from the scene and has been rushed to a specialized laboratory in Phoenix. This DNA, which the sheriff believes belongs to Nancy herself, is currently undergoing a 48-hour expedited analysis. The goal is not just to confirm the blood is hers, but to see if touch DNA, skin cells, or biological markers from a second, unknown party is intermingled with it. The FBI's role has shifted from general support to a deep dive into analytical and technical forensics. At a recent press conference, an FBI spokesperson noted that they are currently analyzing cell phones. This detail is crucial. It implies that investigators have moved beyond Nancy's device and may have seized phones belonging to individuals within her inner circle or staff. They are performing cell tower dumps to identify every electronic signature that moved through the foothills at 2 a.m., looking for a device that synchronized its movement with the exact moment Nancy's pacemaker sent its last signal. This phase of the investigation is also grappling with the physical layout of the Guthrie property. Aerial footage from 12 News Arizona shows a long, secluded driveway surrounded by dense desert brush. This isolation, which Nancy once praised for its gentle quality of life, became a tactical advantage for her abductor. Sheriff Nanos admitted that obtaining traditional Ring doorbell footage has been difficult because the homes in this area are significantly offset from the road. The distance between the front door and the street means that a vehicle could have entered and exited the property without ever triggering a neighbor's motion sensor. As the race against biology enters its third day, the medical window has officially closed. Nancy's medication, described as life-sustaining, is now more than 48 hours overdue. The sheriff's public pleas have taken on a dog whistle quality, almost as if he is speaking directly to someone he suspects is watching the news. He has emphasized that missing this medication is fatal, a strategic move likely intended to convince a captor to leave Nancy at a hospital or a safe location before the situation turns from an abduction to a homicide. But even as the lab in Phoenix works through the night to process the DNA, a new question has emerged from the shadows of the foothills. If there were signs of forced entry, why didn't the neighbors hear a sound in the 2 a.m. silence? For more true crime stories like this, hit the subscribe button. The sixth phase of the search for Nancy Guthrie is centered on a chilling realization by the Pima County Homicide Unit. The presence of forced entry, combined with the lack of a robbery motive, points to a perpetrator who wasn't looking for jewelry or cash, but for Nancy herself. As the search and rescue teams have stood down, the mission has become purely investigative. The geography of the crime is no longer the desert washes, but the perimeter of betrayal. The circle of people who knew Nancy lived alone, knew her physical frailties, and knew her Sunday morning schedule. Private investigators and missing persons experts, including Steve Fisher, have pointed to the church routine as the most significant lead. Nancy was dropped off at her home at 9:45 p.m. Saturday by family members. She was expected at church the next morning. The person who was supposed to pick her up or meet her there is now under intense scrutiny. Investigators are asking why the alarm was raised by the church and not by a caretaker or a scheduled driver. If Nancy was physically unable to walk 50 yards, she relied on a network of support that functioned like clockwork. Any break in that clockwork in the days leading up to the 2 a.m. pacemaker sync is being treated as a potential lead. The homicide unit involvement, which began within 24 hours of the 911 call, is now focused on the blood drip found outside the home. Forensic analysts are debating the significance of this trail. A light trail or a drip suggests a localized injury, perhaps one sustained during the forced entry or while being moved to a vehicle. Because the sheriff's department has already confirmed the DNA belongs to Nancy, they are now looking for the void, the areas where blood should be but isn't, which could indicate where a vehicle was parked or how she was carried. The FBI's analytical support is currently focused on the egress routes out of the foothills. While the neighborhood is rural and secluded, it is surrounded by high-traffic commercial areas filled with Walgreens, grocery stores, and shopping centers. These businesses have much more sophisticated surveillance than the residential homes. Detectives are currently sifting through thousands of hours of footage from these intersections, looking for any vehicle that matches the timeline provided by the 2 a.m. pacemaker data. They are looking for the outlier, a car that drove with purpose through the shopping districts in the middle of the night. The family's resilience has been tested in a way that is now being broadcast to Savannah Guthrie's 1.2 million followers. Her Instagram plea, "Please pray," has turned the local investigation into a global vigil. Savannah, who has canceled her Olympic coverage in Italy to remain in Tucson, is working with a security team that is described as plugged in to the sheriff's operations. This team is vetting angry viewer logs and past threats, but the sheriff's department is also looking closer to home. They are examining the means of the abduction. Taking a woman who cannot walk requires strength and a vehicle. It is not a crime of stealth alone. It is a crime of physical removal. The lack of a ransom demand or a robbery motive has led investigators to consider the threat profile of a high-profile media family. While Sheriff Nanos has said they don't have a solid lead on a specific threat against Savannah, they are not dismissing any angle. The FBI is looking into stalking behavior or individuals who may have become obsessed with the Guthrie family's public image. In the digital age, a recognizable personality can inadvertently provide a map to their loved ones through social media posts and public appearances. As the DNA results from the Phoenix lab are expected to return within the next 24 hours, the atmosphere in Pima County is one of heavy anticipation. The search and rescue maps have been folded away, replaced by forensic grid maps. The community is now looking for a person, not a lost woman. The sheriff's plea for help has shifted from "look in your backyards" to "check your cameras for the hours of 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. The case of Nancy Guthrie is a race against a biological clock that has likely already run out of time. But the investigative clock is just beginning to accelerate. With the pacemaker data providing a fixed point in time and the DNA providing a fixed point in the room, the circle is closing around the who. The foothills are no longer just a place of retirement. They are a landscape of digital and biological clues that the FBI believes will eventually lead to the vehicle that pulled out of that long, secluded driveway in the early hours of Sunday morning. As the third day ends, the Pima County Sheriff stands at a crossroads. They have the DNA, they have the heartbeat data, and they have the scene. All that remains is the one witness who hasn't spoken, the person who walked through the door Nancy Guthrie thought was locked. And now, if you or anyone has information on Nancy Guthrie, contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department at 520-351-4900. And as always, You've been watching True Crime Story Vault, where every story is told with facts, empathy, and respect for those who can no longer speak for themselves. For more true crime stories like this, hit the subscribe button and comment your thoughts below. Until next time, remember, the truth is never buried.